Greetings, my champions, and welcome to Live with Chatufa. We continue to look at events that are happening in the nation and quite a lot of disturbing things that we continue to see happening as ZANU PF goes through its very last days. The very confusion that we see in the party of ZANU PF is also seen in how they've been running the nation and quite a lot of the mistakes that we have seen Emerson Mnangagwa and his party doing. And they continue to do all these mistakes, and these mistakes now are becoming viral. They are now known, and quite a lot of other things, of course, that are not mistakes that they do deliberately are also out there in the public domain. No one at this point can say that they do not know exactly who Emerson Mnangagwa and ZANU PF are. You still remember Mnangagwa in the past days running about over the issues of the buses that were coming from Belarus. A report that we have that now is that over 400 Zupco buses commissioned by Mnangagwa have suddenly disappeared. No one knows or has a track of where these buses have gone to. And yet this was actually a very incident that caused quite a lot of farakashi, to be making noises and, wanting to praise and hero worship Mnangagwa over these buses that he was bringing in. And we spoke about these buses even last time, and we were saying that this is not really about Zimbabwean people. There's something that Mnangagwa is planning to do. And indeed, we were very right. Look at where it is right now. Where are the buses? Just as good as the helicopters that we spoke about, also that came from Russia. We can't locate them. You don't know where they are. And all this is just this kind of thuggery and thievery that is always existed in ZANU PF and Emerson Mnangagwa. So a question has been asked by the former MP of Bulawayo, who was actually recalled by Songezo Shabang, MP for Magwegwe, Honorable Eric Gono, raised questions over the disappearance of more than 400 Zupco buses commissioned by ZANU PF just 2 years ago. And he said the increase, in cases of road accidents could have been averted with organized public transport. And that's exactly the situation that we are facing right now. The truth of the matter is that what we are looking at happening is a situation where the ZANU PF people, they don't do things for the purpose of Zimbabwean people. They don't do things for Zimbabwe. They do things for themselves. And in many cases, you'd find that while they want to purport to be leaders who do things on behalf of Zimbabwean people, they actually do things for themselves. And no one knows exactly what Mnangagwa has done with those buses. Everyone is asking questions. So let's just hear him speak in this video, explaining the situation of those buses.
We last saw the 400 Zupco buses that were unveiled by Mr. Mnangagwa years ago. We never saw them on the road. We wonder where they went to. Right now, citizens are struggling with transport. They are transporting themselves in some very unsafe vehicles, some unroadworthy vehicles. Yet the government of Zimbabwe used the taxpayers' money to buy hundreds of buses that we up to this date do not know where they are. And the funny part is that we are seeing an increase in the fleet of buses of friends of Mnangagwa or his relatives. As the national bus company Zupco, we have not seen its buses in general, but we know that the government of Zimbabwe procured a lot of buses under the name of Zupco using taxpayers' money. But to this date, we are not seeing them on the road. We wonder where Mr. Mnangagwa took those buses. These buses will take to some private company.
Right. Unfortunately, the video is a bit not very clear, but generally, he is speaking about the issues of the disappearance of these buses. What happened to those buses? If you imagine the money that Mnangagwa used to purchase those buses, and you still remember in the first days that these buses were inflated so seriously. I remember the first lot that was brought by Kudata Gure, and he ended up inflating those buses, I think, more than 100%. yet they were buying them very, very cheap from Belarus. And when they came, they were inflated so seriously. And those were some of the buses that started, dripping water inside during the rain season. I think people still remember when we saw Zimbabwean people in the Zupco buses, putting on umbrellas and raincoats. Just imagine on new buses that had just arrived. And this exactly is what we are talking about when we continue to say that our country has really been destroyed by ZANU PF and Emerson Mnangagwa. Why he bought those buses and where he took them to, it still remains a mystery. Whatever that he wants to achieve by taking those buses, I don't know whether they are still in Zimbabwe or they were sold again or whatever that could have happened. Nobody knows. It's only Mnangagwa and his ZANU PF goons who know exactly what has happened. But now look at the transport system in Zimbabwe, how affected it is. Look at the accidents, the road accidents. Every day we always have serious road accidents in Zimbabwe. I wish these buses could be there. They could really have helped in alleviating the problem of transport, as well as some of the transport modes of transport that are now very, very old and are causing a danger to the citizens of Zimbabwe. But unfortunately, we can dream and dream on, but the truth of the matter is we can never ever find a working Zimbabwe as long as we have ZANU PF in power. This is why we continue to fight our battle to free our country from the oppression of ZANU PF and the corruption that we have seen for very, very long. And at one point, we were doing a show last time talking again about Zupco bus drivers and conductors who have gone for more than 9 months and they are not being paid. And somebody would ask themselves, if these men are going to work every day, then how are they surviving? You see, just imagine. And even those that the powers that be, they never ask such questions to say, how are these people making it? How are they able to pay their rentals, feed their families, and continue to come to work if they are not being paid for a period of up to 9 months? And this is really very, very pathetic. It's a situation that we find ourselves in as a nation where we don't have a government, where Zimbabweans are more like orphans. They don't have a government, they don't have leadership that cares about the solidarity and the welfare and the livelihood of the Zimbabwean people. But anyway, our story still remains. We are fighting to make sure that Zimbabwe is freed. We are fighting a war to change Zimbabwe, to take Zimbabwe away from the hand of ZANU PF. And then we will begin to see our country working. Let's continue to stand up, pray, and put pressure on ZANU PF so that our country can be freed. And we are not very far from the freedom of the people. The freedom of the people is coming. Look at what is happening around us, a sign that God is in it. And indeed, God is in it. Thank you so much for joining me on the show. Let us meet in the upcoming shows. I remain blessed.